It was a crisp October morning in Savannah, Georgia, 2024, when I shuffled onto my porch in slippers and a bathrobe, clutching a mug of black coffee, ready to soak in the autumn glow. Then came a sound that jolted me, a waka diesel rumble followed by the sickening grind of machinery. I blinked, disbelieving, as a cement mixer backed into my backyard like a beast from a disaster flick. This wasn't a dream. It was real, and there, in a floral tracksuit and oversized sun hat, stood Marla, our HOA's self-proclaimed dictator, wielding a clipboard like a scepter and shouting, "This is for neighborhood harmony." A torrent of gray concrete poured from the chute, swallowing my 150-year-old historic, I'd spent a year restoring, stone by stone. My wife, Elise, who'd come out to water the rosemary, dropped her can, her face frozen in horror. My mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the patio. This wasn't just an attack on my property. It was a declaration of war by a delusional HOA president who had no idea she'd just targeted the one person with legal control over her neighborhood's water supply. Drop your wildest HOA stories in the comments and tell me where you're reading from. This saga of betrayal, leverage, and sweet justice will leave you reeling. We'd moved to this historic Savannah neighborhood seeking peace, drawn to its moss-draped oaks and our charming, century-old home. The property came with a rare gem, a fully permitted, hand-dug well, municipally approved and blessed by the local historical society. While neighbors paid inflated rates through Marla's HOA-controlled water contracts, Elise and I relied on our well-pristine, independent, a symbol of freedom from petty tyranny. Marla loathed it. From the day she spotted our restoration plans, her campaign began. First came complaints. The well's stonework clashed with aesthetic guidelines. The wooden pulley was too rustic. Then citations, each more absurd than the last. We appealed, armed with permits and legal backing, winning every time. But Marla didn't accept defeat. She escalated, her final email warning of community action if we didn't comply. We laughed it off. What could she do? We had history, law, and rights on our side. We should have installed a camera on that well. That morning, I was halfway through my coffee when the mixer's roar hit. I bolted outside, barefoot, as concrete choked my well, gray sludge bubbling at the brim. Marla was already turning to leave, her smug grin glinting like her rhinestone sunglasses. "What are you doing? That's a protected structure," I yelled. She didn't flinch. "You're welcome. Now your eyesore won't tank our property values." Elise, a former city planner who'd mapped utility grids, muttered, "She just picked the wrong fight." I called the police vandalism, trespassing, environmental damage, but Marla's HOA lawyer spun it as a community maintenance operation. The city called it a civil matter. Marla claimed board approval and resident consent, 3 signatures scrawled over brunch. We spent the day documenting photos, videos, the truck's plate, a statement from our neighbor, Carl, who'd come to borrow a rake and called Marla's act deranged. Elise dug into her old files, pulling a binder labeled property easements. What she found was dynamite. Decades ago, when developers bought the land, they agreed to route the neighborhood's water through a conduit under our property. A dusty contract clause stated that if the landowner revoked access, the water company had to halt delivery until resolved in court as safeguard for the original owner, whose rights passed to me. Marla had poured concrete, but we held the valve to her neighborhood's lifeline. I called a friend in city contracts, who reviewed the easement and whistled. "It's ironclad, Jack. File a revocation, and the city must shut off water to every house until it's settled, or they reroute a months-long, $1 million job." The game had flipped. Marla brought cement. We held the shut-off switch. Elise grinned like a strategist. "We'll give them 48 hours to grovel. Let's see if they fix this before they're rinsing dishes with Gatorade." That night, as Marla's HOA cronies toasted their victory, I sent an email to the city water office, CCing the HOA. "Due to unauthorized damage to protected infrastructure, we are suspending the easement permitting water access through our property, per agreement 943K. Delivery must cease in 48 hours until legal resolution." 2 days. That's all they had before Marla's empire turned parched. Sipping well water on my porch, I watched her crew wave off the cement truck like conquerors. They had no clue what was coming. By morning, The neighborhood buzzed not with Marla's triumph, but confusion. Her lackey, Victor, in an HOA-branded polo, strutted door to door, urging residents to thank the board for upholding aesthetics. Meanwhile, the countdown ticked. 2 days until faucets ran dry, lawns withered, and Marla's reign imploded. Elise pulled up the original waterline blueprint, highlighting the conduit under our land a century-old pipeline the HOA had overlooked. Our backyard held a locked utility panel, restored last year, giving us legal control over the flow. Marla's HOA had built their kingdom on our turf. I printed the easement, bolding key clauses, while Elise called her old boss, Clara, at the water department. Clara laughed, stunned. They cemented your well? That's trespassing and destruction of a historic asset. Elise confirmed we'd secured the panel. Clara replied, good. If they touch it, it's criminal. Send the revocation, and we'll handle the shutoff. By noon, a city inspector verified our panel's serial number, handing Elise a card. CC us on the notice. That valve's yours. As I watered our shrubs with our well's reserves, Marla sauntered by, smirking. Yard looks cleaner without that ugly well, doesn't it? I smiled calmly. Things change fast around here, Marla. She frowned, expecting rage, but marched off, oblivious to the trap closing around her. That night, we finalized the revocation, attaching photos, videos, Carl's statement, and the easement signed by my great-grandfather. I CC'd the water department, HOA, and Marla's personal email. At 8 p.m., I hit send. The next day was eerily quiet, no calls, no knocks. The HOA was likely scrambling in panic. By 7 a.m. the following morning, it began. A scream echoed as sprinklers failed. Neighbors banged hoses, puzzled. The group chat exploded. No water pressure. My shower's dry. Did the HOA skip the bill? Marla posted a vague HOA notice. Due to unexpected municipal maintenance, water service is limited. Conserve usage. I choked on my coffee. Maintenance. Elise scrolled the chat, laughing as residents demanded answers, accusing Marla of mismanagement. By 10 a.m., Marla stormed to our sidewalk, yelling, Jack, I know what you did. I stepped out, hands in pockets. All I did was follow a contract you violated by dumping cement in my well. You cut our water, we returned the favor. Her face reddened. You can't do that. I shrugged. Read the easement. She sputtered, then fled. By noon, the HOA called an emergency meeting, but residents demanded transparency, crowding the clubhouse lot. I flew our drone overhead, streaming footage. Victor argued with Marla, slamming a binder. You said it was just aesthetics. Residents shouted. You cemented his well. A city official pulled Marla aside. Her face cycled from shock to fury. Elise smirked. Think we give them an out? I shook my head. Let it simmer. The next 48 hours were chaos. Faucets coughed air. Stores ran out of bottled water. Marla's memo suggested boiling rainwater, enraging residents. We stayed comfortable with our reserves, but when Marla accused us of hoarding in the chat, Elise set up a table by our fence. Free well water for non-HOA members. Neighbors lined uphelders with jugs, families with kids, even a guy with his cat. We offered smiles and water, no lectures. The effect was electric. Whispers turned to questions. Why destroy a free well? Why punish independence? One neighbor, Lisa, sipped and said loudly, Jack's the only one making sense here. Marla stormed over, demanding we stop manipulating the community. I replied, I'm hydrating them, Marla. Big difference. A crowd watched, one muttering, sit down, Marla. She filed a zoning complaint, claiming we ran an unlicensed water center, but Elise's pre-filed relief exemption shut it down. The zoning officer called, chuckling. She's grasping at straws. That night, the chat erupted with calls for Marla's ouster. A petition to recall the board circulated. Marla's damage control video backfired when her sprinklers died mid-recording and a hot mic caught her snarling. Let them dehydrate. A teen posted it online, captioned Marla, Queen of Thirst. It hit 700,000 views overnight. The next day, a public HOA meeting in the clubhouse lot descended into bedlam. I watched from a lawn chair, drone streaming. Residents raged. My kids bathing in a bucket. I flushed with pool water. A petition to remove Marla passed with overwhelming support. Victor, now interim president, begged me to reinstate the easement. Over coffee on our patio, Elise laid out terms, full well repair costs, a public apology, and an HOA policy barring interference with historic structures. Victor agreed, desperate. We signed the reinstatement. Water flowed again, lawns greened, and the HOA humbled itself. Marla's house hit the market days later. No farewell, she glared from her SUV as it pulled away. Our well's restoration took weeks, but water flowed again, marked by a brass plaque, historic water source, tampering prohibited. Kids toured it for school, neighbors brought wine, thanking us for standing firm. We filed a civil suit against Marla and the HOA, settled for repair costs, and a bylaw amendment barring property interference. The viral video landed us on local news, framing us as defenders of history. The HOA's new board, led by Victor, sought Elise's input to avoid future disasters. A teen's letter, inspired to study water rights, hung in our garage. Marla's reign ended, but our well and our resolve endured. Was Marla a misguided enforcer or a power-hungry villain? Should we have offered a deal sooner to spare the neighborhood? Could residents have stopped her earlier? Was her downfall justice or overkill? Share your thoughts below, and if you love this tale of water and wrath, like and subscribe for more. I've got stories,